While grading students' journals, I stared, dumbfounded, at what he'd written. My brother has been doing duck for years, and now he suddenly can't anymore. For the sake of this budding flower's body and mind, I decided to set up a talk with his brother. Who knew the kid would misunderstand and insist on introducing his brother to me? I turned him down gently. I'm not really into men who do that kind of business. But the student still didn't get it and grew anxious instead. My brother doesn't have to do duck. What about chicken? Would you like it if he did chicken, teacher? I was one giant question mark. After reading the entry, I felt the sky collapsing. My brother has been doing duck for many years, and now he suddenly can't. Since he isn't feeling well, he can just close up for a few days to recuperate. It's really tough working in the service industry, and I totally understand him. The further I read, the colder I felt. What even is this? Shock gave way to a surge of anger. Jack, does your brother do these things right in front of you? I slapped the journal aside. Jack blinked his big round eyes, fingers laced, standing sweetly across from me. Pretty teacher. My brother avoids me when he's doing duck, but I can smell it outside the door. Smell. How intense does it have to be for a kid outside the door to catch a whiff? My temples pounded. I lowered my head and forced the anger down. For the child's future well-being, it was time to talk to his brother. I took Jack's hand and softened my tone. Jack, from now on, when your brother's doing business, you can't go watch, okay? Also, this Friday. Jack suddenly fidgeted, face twisted with conflict, cutting me off. Pretty teacher. But my brother said, when I grow up, he'll pass the business on to me. He says it makes lots of money. I turned to stone. You can inherit this business? Is that really his brother? Are we sure he wasn't trafficked here? Forget waiting till Friday to invite the guardian. Bring your brother to see me tomorrow. The next day, Jack's brother didn't come. Teacher, my brother's super busy today. He said he took a big order and will come apologize to you in person another day. Jack kept his head down, eyes darting. I was about to speak through gritted teeth when I noticed his shirt was inside out and his hair looked like a bird's nest. And my anger fizzled out. Heaven help us eldest like a father. How can a parent be like this? For the sake of that damned business, he can even brush off his own little brother. Please don't be mad, teacher. My brother didn't skip on purpose. Sister Kiao over on West Street wants him to deliver in person. So, seeing my face change, Jack rushed to explain, eyes reddening. He's always well-behaved in class, sharp kid, well-liked. Lots of children love playing with him. If not for this family topic journal prompt, I wouldn't have known his home life was that bad. With a brother like that and he hasn't gone crooked, my heart melted to mush. I pulled Jack into a hug, fussed with his clothes, and pinched his chubby cheeks. If you ever run into trouble, you can always come to me, okay? Jack nodded, not quite understanding, then grinned and burrowed into my arms to cuddle. Damn it, that hurt even more. The ache lasted into the next day. Since his brother kept stalling, I decided to go to their place myself. Teacher, my brother says he'll be home in half an hour. I'm going to my room to do homework. Jack hung up the landline, slung on his little backpack, and walked into his room by himself. No fussing, no TV back home, and doing homework without being told. He was almost absurdly well-behaved. In my heart, my dislike for his brother grew a few more degrees. After cursing him silently, I finally heard movement at the door. Politeness first. I stood up to offer a few pleasantries. Hello, Jack's brother. Holy crap. Broad as double doors, a hard, lean waist, long legs, sun-darkened skin. With a face like that, the mold couldn't have cast him better. No wonder he does duck. The figure at the door froze, and seeing me speechless, he stepped forward and waved a hand in front of my eyes. Miss Isabel? From a distance, you couldn't tell. Up close, I saw it. He wasn't just built, his face was downright stunning. A strong brow, eyes inky bright, lips slightly parted, and those long curling lashes lent a disarming softness to his chiseled features. I spun away, silently scolding myself for acting like I hadn't seen a handsome man in 800 years. "Miss Isabel, have some water." A hand with clean, well-defined knuckles slid a glass onto the table before me. "Hello, I'm Jason, Jack's brother. Has he been causing trouble at school?" He sat across from me, habitually sprawled with his legs apart, then 3 seconds later snapped upright and gave an awkward smile. "Sorry, teacher. I just wrapped up and I'm beat." Wrapped up. I seized on the key word. What good is it if Jason's so handsome his line of work is nothing to be proud of? I cleared my throat. "Jack's brother, I'm here to talk about your job." Jason straightened and nodded solemnly. "Okay, I'm listening." "It's just that you do." Shame hit me before the words left my mouth. What if I say it outright? And Jason snaps. I swerved hard. "Is there some hardship at home? What made you go into that kind of business?" Jason's eyes dimmed. "A few years back, my parents were divorcing. In the end, neither of them wanted custody of me or Jack. They ditched us and left." He gave a small smile. "Teacher, life's a lot better now for me and Jack. The work's not exactly classy, and every time it leaves me filthy. But as long as Jack can live well, I'm content." I shut my eyes. All I could think was, I'm the worst. All my assumptions, without knowing the truth, turned into pure guilt. "Jack's brother, I'm sorry I didn't know things were like this at home. But, damn it, I could barely get the words out. To end this quickly, and for Jack's future, I decided to lay it on the table. When you do that, try to keep Jack away. He's still little. He doesn't understand. But when he grows up, how will he see you then? Or are you thinking of switching fields? I can help you find a proper job." Staring at Jason's blank look, I blurted out, "Security, food delivery, anything would do. Jack's such a good kid. And you're still young. Why insist on being a brother? You're back." A chubby blur shot past and launched into Jason's arms. "Brother, I finished my homework. My tummy's hungry." Jack blinked his big eyes, looking pitifully at Jason, until Jason reached behind him and pulled out an oversized lollipop. Jack's eyes lit up instantly. "Miss Isabel, stay for dinner. We can talk about whatever it is over the meal." Jason set Jack on the sofa and stood to start cooking. I waved my hands quickly, mumbled a goodbye, grabbed my bag off the couch, and all but fled to the door. With Jack there was no way I could talk about his brother doing duck at the table. I'd have to think of another way. Ever since that day, my pity for Jack had deepened. Maybe his brother was in that line of work, because he had no choice. Jason didn't look that old, probably about my age. Abandoned by their parents years ago, he'd taken the whole household on his shoulders. As the saying goes, the eldest is like a father. Jack was being raised plump and healthy, a clear sign of his care. But still, this wasn't something you could bring into the open. Jack was still young, but what about when he grew up? I couldn't even imagine the impact this would have on him. Prejudice could really destroy a person. Thinking of that, I pulled out some snacks from my desk drawer and stuffed them into his arms, saying fondly, "Eat more. If it's not enough, come to me for more." Jack nodded, and a second later had packed his cheeks like a hamster. Cute as could be. Later, I asked Jack to call his guardian a few more times, but nothing ever came of it, leaving me uneasy. Every time, his brother was too busy or out of town. "Out of town? Your brother's job takes business trips?" I shot up, shocked. This business had some range. Jack tilted his head up at me. "Yeah, he and a few of his friends went out of town this week to do duck. The neighbor Granny's been taking care of me these 2 days." Friends? Group activities? My vision went black. I almost fainted. I thought I was just quietly persuading a man from the red light trade to go straight. Turns out there was an entire organization. This was already skirting the line. If he got caught, what would happen to Jack? He's just a grade schooler with no parents, only a brother. Worse, he wouldn't even be eligible for public service jobs. "Jack, When your brother comes back, have him come see me right away. Understand? I pulled him closer, lowered my voice, my tone urgent. Jack looked at me and suddenly burst out laughing. Before I could ask why, he covered his mouth and ran off. Great. Now Jack's mental state was starting to look shaky too. A week later, Jason finally showed up at my office. Miss Isabel, I've just been too busy lately. I'm so sorry it took me this long to come see you. He rubbed his hands together and sat in the chair opposite me. The seat was too small for his long legs, so he had to stretch them out to the side, instantly drawing half the office's attention. Maybe he really had rushed over he'd come in just a plain tank top. And I had to admit, on him, even an ordinary white tank had that rugged, hard man vibe. No wonder he fit the model mold. Teacher, Jack told me, I have no plans to change jobs. It's tiring and dirty work, sure, but it supports both me and Jack, and I like doing it. Jason suddenly looked up, eyes steady, his tone neither humble nor arrogant. Around us, the female teacher's gazes shot over like arrows, chua, chua, chua. My nerves jumped, worried he'd spill too much, and I grabbed his wrist, dragging him toward the door. Jason looked baffled, but let me pull him along. Only when we reached a deserted corner did I let go, panting. I glanced around like a thief and hissed, "Why would you say that so loudly in the office?" If they all knew what Jason did, how would Jack get through his last 3 years of primary school? My internship here would be over soon. What if he got bullied after I left? The more I thought, the more my anger rose, and I raised my voice. Do you think that's something you can say in public? Jason still looked confused. Is what I do really that shameful? Shameful? Try arrest-worthy. You're young and able-bodied. Why not do something else? Why insist on that? If you get caught, what happens to Jack? And you don't even know how easy it is to catch diseases in that line of work? Jason was about to explain when a few students came down the hall. I quickly pushed him toward the school gate, telling him curtly to think about it himself, and grabbed the students' hands to head the other way. Just as I reached the entrance, Jack popped up behind me, grinning mischievously. Pretty teacher. He tugged on my sleeve, signaling for me to lean down. Teacher, what do you think of my brother? He's single. I really like you. Will you be my sister-in-law? What? After inviting his brother over several times, he'd clearly gotten the wrong idea. I stumbled back, but not wanting to hurt his feelings, I gently lowered his hand and said tactfully, Teacher doesn't like men in that kind of business. But Jack got anxious, clutching my sleeve even tighter. My brother doesn't have to do duck. What about chicken? Would you like that, teacher? What? His brother could do chicken too. That meant his business went both ways? I called my best friend to vent about this thing that had shocked my third uncle, fourth aunt, and fifth grandaunt. On the other end, my friend let out such a shrill squeal it made my hand holding the phone tremble 3 times. I grimaced. Exactly. His little brother's only in 3rd grade and knows this stuff. No way it's not connected to his big brother. I'd thought Jack didn't even know what doing duck meant. But then he went and said that. I was so stunned, I went straight down like a felled tree. If Ms. Jessica from next door hadn't happened by and pinched my philtrum, I'd probably be in the hospital right now. Maybe you should just stay out of it. My friend hesitated after a moment. You're only here for an internship, and you'll be back at school in a few months. It's not like I hadn't thought of that. This isn't my real job, just a mandatory placement from school. Counting it up, I'd been here 3 or 4 months, and in 3 more, I'd be gone. If nothing unexpected happened, I wouldn't teach at this elementary school again, and a new teacher would take my place. After that, none of it would have anything to do with me. But Jack's so young, he doesn't even know what's appropriate to write in his journal. What if one day he writes about this again, and the new teacher sees it? What if she thinks it's funny and makes him read it out loud in front of everyone? Not every teacher deserves to be called a teacher. That's always been my worry. My moral bottom line keeps telling me, as long as I'm still in this position, I have to deal with this. I'm the kind of person who once helped an old lady and got accused of knocking her down, and who's been tricked out of money by a beggar pretending to be sick on the street. I'm also the kind of person who'll pay out of pocket to get an injured stray kitten treated. The old lady accusing me that's her character problem. The beggar faking illness to get money. At least it proves he's not actually sick, which is a good thing. And if the kitten's healed, it can run and jump again. Things I come across, I just can't turn a blind eye to. I have to step in. My best friend paused, like she'd already guessed my answer, and didn't argue. But as we hung up, she teased me twice. All right then. Just don't let that duck latch onto you. Damn it. I hadn't even gone looking for him yet. And the man who did both chicken and duck was standing at my desk the very next day. This time, though, he'd wrapped himself up tight shirt, black pants, even a mask and a baseball cap, with only a pair of bright, foxy eyes showing. I'd just gotten back from class, and there he was. Miss Isabel, you're back? The moment he saw me, his eyes curved, a smile flickering there. I set my books down and tilted my head at him. What's with the get-up? Jason sat down in the chair beside me, hands on his knees. Afraid you'd say I wasn't dressed decent enough, Miss Isabel. So this was payback for me saying last time that what he'd said wasn't appropriate. The model holds grudges, huh? How'd a personality like that make it as a model? Miss Isabel, I think you've misunderstood me. I still want to talk to you about what we discussed last time. Stop! Not that topic in the office again. I leaned over, clapped a hand over his mouth, and cut him off. Wait until school's out. We'll find somewhere private to talk. My voice spiked with the emotion. In an instant, curious looks from all the other teachers shot our way, and I was practically leaning over the top half of Jason's body. Flustered, I straightened up fast, grabbed his sleeve, and hustled this living Buddha right out the door. Back at my desk, no sooner had I sat down than Ms. Jessica from the next desk, the English teacher, blinked at me, sunflower seeds in hand, and leaned over with gossip in her tone. Isabel, I saw you at the school gate with him last time, pulling at each other. So, you two got something going on? Nice taste. Jack's brother's the best-looking guy around here. Hey, give me the details. In a crowded place, gossip flies fast before the day was over. 5 teachers had patted my shoulder and wished me a happy date. Just as the 6th teacher's hand was about to land on my shoulder, I popped up like a carp and grabbed my bag, grinning awkwardly as I made my escape. Stepping out the school gate, I spotted Jason leaning against a sycamore tree, walking straight toward me. In just one afternoon, he'd changed outfits again now, in a suit with a small chain and gleaming black leather shoes. He carried the scent of Hermès Terre d'Hermès cologne. Don't tell me he'd just come from the club. What? Following my fixed stare, he glanced down at himself and frowned, puzzled. I figured if I wasn't going into the office, I didn't have to be so bundled up, right? As he moved his hand, the V-neck of his suit gaped just enough to hint at his chest muscles. At that quality, booking him must cost a fortune. I quickly looked away, swallowing hard, and hurried to change the subject. Where's Jack? You said you had something to tell me, so when the neighbor picked him up, I had her take him home. His hand dropped, the suit settling back into place, covering the spring scenery. Haven't had dinner yet, have you, Miss Isabel? Let's find a restaurant to talk. Fine, this wasn't something I could explain in a few words, and a meal's worth of time would be enough to sort it out. But no sooner had I settled into the passenger seat than Miss Jessica rolled by on her scooter, tapped on the window, glanced at me, then at Jason, and gave me a knowing smile. My gut clenched. Some people's mouths are quicker than my hands. Miss Jessica grinned wide, practically beaming. Off on a date, you two? She just blurted it out like that, and I just shattered like that. I'll give him this. Jason's professional training was solid. The whole way, he kept the conversation going, never crossing a line or letting it go cold. It did wonders for my one-sided awkwardness. Miss Isabel, what do you feel like eating? Models really do make money fast without a second thought. He steered me toward a high-end restaurant my 200 yuan intern salary could only dream of. That pay barely covered 2 home-style dishes. Maybe sensing my hesitation, Jason spoke up. My treat, a living Buddha. I was about to bow in thanks when it hit me this wasn't the dorm, where a roommate could call a man dad for buying her dinner. At school, wouldn't this count as accepting a bribe from a student's parent? After much internal debate, I steered Jason into the self-serve barbecue joint next door to the fancy place. I just like a bit of down-to-earth flavor. I grinned like an idiot over my skewers. Under the warm orange lights, Jason's dark suit gave me an odd illusion. Not like a model, more like a CEO. But the next second, the way he deftly worked the grill shattered that illusion. What kind of CEO was this good at barbecue? Ms. Isabel, more chili or less? Jason held the spice shaker, a fine sheen of sweat on his nose, looking at me with utter seriousness. More, please. The skewers were about to burn, so I answered quickly. Wait, why was I out eating with Jason again? And why did this scene feel suspiciously like a date? The thought made my skin crawl. And I quickly remembered my real purpose. Ducks! Jason, I wanted to talk to you about your work. Look, you're still young, same age as me. Even if you didn't go to college, you could take a self-study exam and get a degree. You could find something much more respectable. Doing duck is living off your youth, it won't last. Oh, and chicken's no good either. Watching his face, I kept on earnestly. Honestly, I'd practically gone from the founding of New China to the future of technology, circling the same theme 6 times. A person should be self-reliant and live with dignity. But Jason stayed unmoved the whole time. Only the skewers in his hands, sizzling and sending up mouth-watering smells. I got mad, my voice was hoarse from talking, and he couldn't even give me a reaction. Jason, do you really have to do duck? He finally looked up, but only in confusion. What? I'd worked myself into a red-hot rant, and the duck hadn't even been listening. Sorry, Ms. Isabel. I get focused when I'm grilling. Could you say that again? Seeing I was angry, he quickly set the skewers down, sat up straight, hands on knees. But I think I caught your last sentence, something about duck? You want to eat duck? This place doesn't have it, but I do roast duck. If you want some, come to my shop. I was ready to rally and scrub away his improper thinking when I froze. Roast duck? As an actual Beijing duck? Still not convinced, I followed Jason to his shop and saw a whole row of glossy golden brown ducks hanging there, the aroma hitting me full in the face. Oh man, that smelled amazing, real duck. My stubborn doubts finally died. Turns out all that cloak and dagger behavior before had been just me staging a one-woman show in my own head. The Chinese savior of the fallen that I was had finally tripped over herself. Ms. Isabel, want me to roast one for you? Freshly roasted skin is crispier and tastes better. He said it like a suggestion, but was already picking out a duck to cook for me. A full-fledged roast duck shop owner. No wonder Jack said his brother could also do chicken. He could do duck, chicken, goose, lamb, pork, anything. Why didn't Jack throw in a few more animals? I silently prayed Jason would never guess what had been going on in my head. But apparently heaven wasn't listening. My lightning-struck face gave me away. Before long, Jason set a sizzling roast duck down in front of me. Try it. This is my secret recipe. I swallowed hard. Since I was already here, I gingerly pulled off a leg and had just brought it to my mouth when Jason suddenly said, Actually, I've kinda suspected before what you were talking about. My work wasn't just roast duck. Duck leg in mouth, duck leg out of mouth. I quickly grabbed the other leg and shoved it straight into his. In his suddenly wide eyes, my own lashes were wet with tears, blurring my vision. I have this problem when I get nervous or embarrassed enough to want to dig a hole and hide. My eyes just start leaking. Seeing him about to speak again, I tore off a wing and stuffed it in his mouth, choking out, Your roast duck is so good it's making me cry. Please, just don't say anything else. I went home, clutching the second duck he'd packed for me. sobbing choo 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 as I called my best friend choo choo choo. I bawled to her about all my idiotic, overzealous do-gooder antics. Choo choo choo. Wait, Miss Isabel, what are you eating? Was all she said after hearing my whole story. You're chewing longer than you're talking. Can't help it, this roast duck was too good. No wonder business was booming so much. He couldn't even show up when the school called him in. No wonder he avoided that chubby Jack when he was roasting. No wonder the business trips to open franchise stores. No wonder. After demolishing an entire duck, my messy as 8 treasure porridge mood was strangely much better. Babe, I'll talk to you later, wage slaves. Have an 8 a.m. tomorrow. I hung up. Then I remembered what I'd accidentally left behind at Jason's shop before leaving. Maybe tomorrow I'd feel twice as happy. When I saw Jack, snot bubble and all from crying, I knew my little plant had been spotted. Cute and innocent as he was, it had all started with that journal entry of his. I'd left Jack's journal at Jason's shop. A kid might forget a spanking in no time, but a 20-something's public humiliation, that stays with you for years till the middle of the night, or the end of your days. You'll remember the moment that made you want to dig an entire castle to hide in. I couldn't bear it, so I shoved Jack out to take the blame. Sniffling, he handed me the journal, his snot bubbles swelling and shrinking as he spoke. Ms. Isabel, my brother gave me a beating after reading my diary. This is him teaching me to fix it. Can you check if it's okay now? I opened the dog-eared notebook. My brother has been doing duck for many years. Underlined became, my brother has been doing roast duck for many years. Now he suddenly can't anymore. Double underlined became, now business suddenly isn't doing well. Since he wasn't feeling well, he could close up and, crossed out, recuperate, and replaced with rest. It's really not easy working in the service industry, and I still understand him. That was when Jason's rival shop was stirring up trouble, and he really had fallen sick from overwork, taking time off to recover. Once he'd regrouped, he started hitting back at the competition, so while I was calling him in for a talk, he'd been busy refining his strategy. Business trips to evaluate other markets, expand his reach. Jason's squeaky clean, hard-working life had been ruined in living color by one journal entry from his little brother. Teacher, yesterday he hit me with such a long feather duster this long, woo woo woo. Still crying. Jack spread his arms to show just how long it was. Heaven help me, it was my fault. I pulled him into my arms and gently wiped his nose. As he calmed down under my comfort, he kept on tattling about his brother. When he hit me yesterday, he was jumping up to do it. I couldn't help laughing, but his next words froze the smile on my face. He also said if your teacher Crush finds out about this diary, and he can't win her over, he'll toss me in the duck pen to eat and sleep with them. Woo woo woo, I don't want that. Ducks stink. Teacher, I don't want it. I didn't hear the rest. All I could think about was Jason wanting to chase me. He liked me? No, he didn't just like me. Jason straight up confessed. Today he wore a plain gray hoodie, gripping his coffee cup tight. Sorry. I let it slip when I hit Jack yesterday. Didn't think that big mouth would pass it right along to you. I went home and hit him again. First time anyone's confessed to me, and led with an apology. Liking you is my business, but I'm afraid it might bother you. That's why I asked you out today to tell you not to take it too seriously. What do they call this type again? Oh right, fake cool type. But since it's out in the open, I'm not gonna take it slow anymore. Ms. Isabel, can I pursue you? This one I know, straight shooter type. Look at me, applying what I just learned. Wait, he's confessing to me? He was just apologizing. How'd we change channels so fast? Can I ask, have we met before? I couldn't hold up under the heat in his eyes, dropped my gaze, and racked my brain. But I couldn't recall a single moment in my life where a man this gorgeous had shown up. We've crossed paths a few times. On my side, anyway. Jason smiled softly, a trace of gentleness in his eyes. He was probably remembering when he'd run into me back then. Tisk, told you this is the good karma from doing good deeds. Heaven rewarded me with a gorgeous man who could roast duck, was rich, parent-free, and drop-dead handsome. I deserve this. I'm only in my early 20s, prime time for wanting to fall madly in love. But I decided to keep pretending a bit longer. They say those who come late know how to cherish more, but I didn't expect that while I kept up the act, I'd start to wonder what kind of duck he was actually selling. Ms. Isabel, which shirt do you think looks better? A few messages popped up in the green chat bubbles. I'd just finished prepping for class, and when I opened them, I nearly sprayed nosebleed all over my textbook. What the hell is this? One backlit selfie, he was holding his phone low, shooting upward. The light and shadow split across his face, messy black hair falling over his forehead, lips slightly parted, Adam's apple prominent. The collar of his black shirt hung open, hinting at well-shaped pecs underneath. The other photo looked like it was taken at a desk, long fingers idly pinching the hem of a white shirt, revealing a textbook set of six-pack abs. Broad shoulders, narrow waist, lean muscle, exactly my favorite type when browsing online. Was he seriously just asking me to choose a shirt? My advice would be, black for the kitchen, white for the bedroom. No! I shook my head hard, throwing out the mental trash. After a moment's thought, I typed seriously. Jack's brother. I suggest buttoning it up. The reply came instantly. Okay, Ms. Isabel. I guess I'm still not presentable. Looking all pitiful. Ms. Isabel, want to have dinner together tonight? I've developed a new seasoning works for both duck and chicken. I meant to play it cool, but Jason's seasoning was just too damn good. When I arrived at the shop, he was dressed to the nines, serving up a plate of roast chicken. Huh? Didn't he do both roast duck and roast chicken? I asked. Where's the duck? Jason just smiled, rolled his shirt sleeves up twice, then sat properly in front of me, hands on his knees. He tilted his head slightly, that tear mole under the corner of his eye, swaying in the warm orange light. Can I be just yours? Yes. Yes, you can. Very much so. But as a lifelong girl's girl, I still snuck my phone out under the table. Babe, what do I do if someone confesses to me? The duck guy? Wait, how does she know? Not a duck guy. A roast duck guy. How do you know? You've been messaging me all this time, duck bro this and duck bro that. I thought you'd gone full savior of the fallen and thrown yourself in too. What's so great about roast? Duck? He hasn't been to college. No degree, no culture. Think it over carefully. I thought it over, then sent her Jason's photo. 3 seconds of silence. If he looks like this, why the hell didn't you say so earlier? Looks just like Kyle. Roast Duck CEO is still a CEO if it were me. I'd scrub his toilet. I went quiet, 'cause I liked Kyle in the drama too, so when I first saw Jason, my eyes had drifted toward his bathroom. I'd just been hung up on his model image. But now that's all cleared up. What the hell was I still pretending for? Wait until his shop actually went under, and he turned to shady work so I could keep him? Without saying yes or no, I just blocked his mouth with mine. He quickly caught on, sliding one arm around me in the air, deepening what had started as just a brief kiss. Through the haze, I thought I saw Jack grinning at the door. After we officially got together, I found out Jason wasn't just flirty. If you didn't know better, you'd think he'd trained at some other club. I don't want to anymore. I was barely awake when he rolled over again, nuzzling into my neck. A soft laugh came from above my head. He gripped my waist, flipped over, then covered me again. Why not? Didn't you used to like checking my academic background? My face flushed, and I buried it in the pillow. I suddenly remembered some nonsense I'd once told him, a joke I'd seen online. Since Jason had never been to college, I'd always tug on his tie and say, "Let the teacher check your academic record." Jason would smile, good-natured, and let me pull him along, replying, "Okay," each time. Damn it, okay my ass. I'm the one who wanted to check his degree, so why was I the one crying? Say it, Ms. Isabel, why not? His tone grew heavier, his movements stilled. Restless, I turned my head, eyes closed, hooked an arm around his neck, and snapped, I do! I do! I do! Jack's ridiculous diary. What the hell was that? Jason's body was perfectly fine. Suddenly I remembered. Hey, Jason. I'm thinking of surprising Jack. His eyes, a moment ago full of heat, now flashed with a hint of displeasure. Why bring up that brat? Focus. Before I could speak again, his mouth was back on mine. 3 years later, I stood at the podium and announced the surprise. Jason laughed. Jack cried. Thanks to me, I'd appeared in Jack's middle school classroom. The year I graduated college, I got my junior high teacher's license and a permanent position in the local system this time. I was his math teacher and homeroom teacher. I cut off every bad habit at the root. No first love, no sleeping in class, 5 threes a must, and unfinished homework meant guaranteed spanking by Jason, of course. I'd just nipped his budding first love in the bud recently, but Jack didn't seem to care. Except to get back at his brother, he still called me sister-in-law before and after everything. After yet another round of brotherly bickering, Jason went out to handle roast duck shop business, and Jack sulked in silence. Then, seeing me, his eyes lit up. Sister-in-law, I've got something good to show you. He slipped mysteriously into the study, came back with a yellowed notebook, and shoved it into my arms. My brother's dark past. He winked at me before slipping off to his room. The smoke my brother puffs isn't tobacco, it's loneliness. At this age, nothing goes right. In my world, there's no love, only darkness. I'm pretty much that kind of person. Usually I can joke around with you, be easygoing. But if you touch my reverse scale, I'll show you what real darkness is. This is a wolf with a baby face, pure and innocent on the surface, but slick and clear-eyed inside. I have both Buddha and demon in my heart, but I've sealed the demon deep away. But some people just have to make me break that seal. So, let me ask you, when you face a true demon in the world, can you still keep your composure? The date at the top made it clear this was 5th grade Jason. And not just 5th grade, this kind of emo rambling ran right through to high school. By the time I finished, my brain felt shrunken. This was way too abstract. Flipping further, I saw the entries had become less frequent. After several blank pages, there was one stained with teardrops, reading, "Dad and Mum don't want me anymore." That was when his parents divorced until neither wanted custody, choosing instead to run off with the money. The smile on my face froze, and my heart ached with a dull, prickling pain. He must have gone through a lot back then to get himself and Jack to where they were now. I couldn't bear to read more. My hands trembled as I went to close it, but it slipped and fell to the floor. The wind flipped a few more pages, the handwriting much neater now, clearly from later on. That night, I came back from washing dishes. She brushed past my shoulder, holding an injured kitten. The moment she looked up to apologize, both she and the kitten looked at me. I think that's when, in that damp, gloomy stretch of time, a little light began to appear.